Hey guys, welcome to the Q with Q. It is me, your host, Quentin R. Giles, or just call me Q. And you see the title, you probably hear it in my voice a little bit. Our girl, our sis, RBJ, has died. And we saw this coming. I mean, she has been through a lot of medical procedures and a lot of just ins and outs of the hospital. And, we was telling sis, sis, go sit down, go wrap up in some bubble wrap. We need you to at least to be here till January 21st. But unfortunately, she has passed. Icon in her own right, on the Supreme Court. Whether you agree with all of her policies or not, I know there are definitely some that I disagree with, but we cannot negate the powerhouse that she was for women's rights and human rights and civil rights and just being a woman on the Supreme Court. And so that is what's happening or has happened tonight. But that is not what I came to talk about. What I came to talk about was probably everybody's reaction after we heard, right? If you're like me, when I saw on the TV, actually I was on a Zoom call laying on my couch, laying on my stomach on my couch on a Zoom call, actually with some black TikTok creators. We were doing a creator conference call, if you will. And I happened to look over. My TV was muted. Happened to look over, and I saw the headline, and my stomach, my heart literally dropped to the pit of my stomach. I sat up and I looked at the TV, and I could still feel like my heart in the bottom of my stomach, because all I could think about was this man is going to get a third Supreme Court pick. And by this man, I'm talking about President Trump. And I don't think that I'm the only one concerned about that. I don't think that I'm the only one that had that almost immediate reaction, which is so sad because somebody just lost their life. And our thoughts should be with that person. But my mind went from RBJ dead to, oh crap. Like that is just where my mind went. And I'm just like, no. No, I'm not laughing at her. I'm just laughing at no, this is not happening. But it is happening. And so I wanted to come and encourage everybody because I, for a moment, even fell into okay, I need to move to Mexico. I started to try to make all these plans because I could only think that he is going to pick the most disastrous Supreme Court pick, right? We've already seen his racism uptick, his desperation uptick, if you follow his Twitter or even glance at it from time to time with voting. I can think of contested elections, kind of like Bush v. Gore going up to the Supreme Court. And if he gets some hard right-wing ideologue that agrees with him in his power position, what does that look like? I could think about all those things. If you want me to be honest, my go-to with Trump as well, because no one will ever be able to convince me that he's not a racist, is we might go back to slavery. Let's keep it 100. I don't think that that's too far-fetched to say or too outlandish to say or to even think that that would be something that he would want to implement in some type of way. So that's where my mind goes to. But I'm here to say, we are not out of this. We are not out of the woods. We have an election coming up. We can still exercise our constitutional right. Yeah, some people might want to cry. Some people might want to feel down. And I'm not negating any of those emotions. Those emotions are your emotions. You process how you want to process, but then you continue the fight. Okay? You continue to get up. We have an opportunity to still say no. We have an opportunity to get this man out of office. And if he gets a pick, cool. We could still flip the Senate. We could still maintain the House. And we could get Joe Biden in that presidential spot. And if we wanted to, because laws are created in the Congress, if we wanted to, we could just add additional people to the Supreme Court. Now, I don't know all the intricacies of how the fighting would go, But those are things that we still have at our disposal. Those are still tools. Now, will Joe Biden go along with that? I don't know. I'm just saying that we're not out of the woods. We're not out of the fight. Even with Neil Gorsuch being on the court, I've been watching him. Even though he's a Republican, he claims to be a textualist, right? What does the text say? What does the Constitution say? And not really one of these people that like try to bend the words and try to make it fit. And so that might stick true. So Neil Gorsuch, because he's had some decisions that kind of surprised us in this last Supreme Court session. So we're not totally out of the woods, because there could be something that Neil Gorsuch doesn't, agree with and decide to swing on the way of what's just right to do. So I just wanted to say, like, there are still so many possibilities. Yes, it's clear this man is going to get a third Supreme Court pick. Mitch McConnell has already come out and said that his pick will get a vote, even though the hypocrisy is so rank, because Merrick Garland, President Obama's Supreme Court pick, in 2016, Mitch McConnell would not take that pick up, saying that it was an election year and that the people had the right to vote, like some cockamamie excuse not to give Merrick Garland a Supreme Court hearing. But now here we are in an election year, just like in 2016, and he's going to allow it. So the hypocrisy runs rank. We already know that. But we are not out of the woods, people. We are not out of it. We still have levers. We still have options. We still have tools. And I plan to exercise every tool available to me. And I want to encourage you to exercise every tool available to you. And one of the main tools we have is to vote in this election. If that means voting early, I'm going to go vote early. I'm not voting by mail. I don't have time for Louis DeJoy and his shenanigans down there at the USPS. If you're voting by mail, I mean, hey, some people have to do that. I'm not going to discourage you from it, nor am I going to bash you from it for doing so. If you know who you're voting for, mail it in early. Just go ahead, vote and mail in. A safer way would be to take your mail-in ballot and drop it off at your local election boards and heads. And there are different distribution centers for you to do that. Some states have drop boxes. If you have something like that in your state, do that. Vote early, vote on voting day. Now, voting day probably going to be crazy. So vote early. Go in line and vote early. That is the number one tool we still have. And we have to show up like never before. We have to, even if you don't like Joe Biden, y'all know I don't like Joe Biden. Y'all know Joe Biden was not my candidate, but I'm going to go vote for Joe Biden. We need to vote in overwhelming numbers so that there is not even a doubt should this election be contested or not. That's how I view it. Now, I don't know how you may view it. I don't like fear mongering. So please do not take me as trying to scare you into voting. Please vote for who you want to vote for. If there is a candidate that speaks to you, vote for that person. I'm telling you about what I'm going to do and what I would want to see. Now, that's what I would want to see. Us voting overwhelming numbers for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, so that there is no doubt that Trump has to get out. That there is no doubt that there was some mishandling of the vote or mishandling of the mail-in votes or anything like that. That's how I'm looking at this election. And so we are not out of the woods, people. We are not. We still have tools. We still have a tool. Our number one tool is voting in this election. Again, feel how you want to feel. Process how you need to process. Cry. Be angry. Don't go do nothing crazy. Even if you are angry, be angry and do not sin. You know, if you need to scream, scream. If you need to break something in your house, don't break nothing valuable. Drop a plate, bust some glass. Hey, do that. Go to the gym late night, 24 hours and work that frustration out. Hit the punching bag. Do that. All those things are okay. Express that. If you need to write in your journal, do that. Do what you need to do to process the moment, but be ready to continue the fight. We have won this fight time and time again when it comes to civil rights and equality and equity for people. Well, we haven't achieved equity. And I might even argue that we haven't even achieved full equality. But when it is time to fight these fights, we have prevailed. We might not have gotten everything we wanted, but we have prevailed. And we will do the same thing this time. We're going to fight the good fight, and it is a long haul. So we are not out of the woods. I mean, we're not hopeless, but we're not out of the woods. But we still have power in the situation. So exercise that power and make sure you vote in this election.